and they said, you know what? We're not going to let it end here. We're going to have a National Civil Rights Museum, and you need to get down there, get to Beale Street, go to the Stax Museum, but we want you to go to the National Civil Rights Museum. Everybody put your hands together for Terry Lee Freeman, the president of the National Civil Rights Museum. Put your hands together.
Thank you. Good morning. You know, I am originally from Chicago, born and raised. And when I was a little girl, I used to sit in my grandfather's kitchen and we would listen to Rainbow Push on the radio. I never thought I would be standing here. But I appreciate and am thankful that Reverend Jackson and Santita are allowing me to say a few words about the National Civil Rights Museum. We came to Chicago because there's a direct connection between Chicago and the South. The Great Migration that took place brought so many of our families from the South 2 points north, and Chicago was a big place where we settled. And so what we're doing is asking people to come back home. Even if Memphis isn't home, it's close to home. Come back home and make a stop at the National Civil Rights Museum. One of the things that we're saying to people is that, you know, the museum is housed within the Lorraine Motel, which was where the unfortunate assassination occurred of Dr. King. Reverend Jackson was there, and he is on the walls of the National Civil Rights Museum. But we want you to think of it more than just a museum, just a place where you kind of view artifacts and history, but that it is a place that makes history as well. All of what we're seeing going on in our communities today is not unconnected to what we have seen in the past. And frankly, what is chronicled on the walls of the National Civil Rights Museum, a profit organization that is doing the registration effort. Now, Tennessee is 49th in voter registration. Why in the world would you decide that you want to restrict voter registration when you are already 49th? It seems pretty crystal clear to me. I don't know. But so we have written letters and obviously are in opposition because the people who are chronicled on the walls of the National Civil Rights Museum, some of them died for us to actually be able to have the right to vote. So we got this going on in Tennessee. In Florida, we've got the state saying, okay, well, we're going to reinstate rights to returning citizens, but if they have any fines outstanding, they got to pay those before they vote. Well, that's called a poll tax. And so what we are seeing is those ghosts of the past rising up and starting to be a part of our present, and we have to fight that. So the National Civil Rights Museum, again, is not just a museum, but we are an advocate in the community as well. So I would like to encourage everybody to get in their car and just drive on down to Memphis, Tennessee. Come visit us. We're open every day except Tuesdays. And in the summertime, we're open from 9 to 6. We will welcome you. And then what we want to ask you to do, and each of you that are in this room are already doing that, but we would ask you to, based on what you see at the museum, engage in your community and make it the place that it needs to be, because we got all sorts of issues between the gentrification of neighborhoods that is running rampant throughout our cities in particular, to these voter laws, to the issues with our young people, criminal justice. We got a lot of work to do. It is not yet done. So Reverend Jackson joined us last year at our 50th, and we talked about where do we go from here? Now the question is, where are we going and who are we taking with us? So thank you for giving me some time this morning, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you. Oh, everybody put your hands together. You can do better than that. As we prepare to bring our video of the week encapsulating the news of the week, we urge you to go to these musea that acknowledge our history. We have a unique history in this country. We have been here 400 years officially. We have endured slavery, Jim Crow, all kinds of laws to hold us back, and yet we're still here. And this museum, the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee, chronicles that history. The Lynching Museum in Alabama chronicles that history. As we bring our young people and our administrators from Homewood Flossmoor, we're still living with this every day. Blackface in Chicago and all over the country. So come on, everybody, put your hands together for Terry Freeman, the president. And now, I bring to you our video of the week.
Thank you for joining us.
Uplifting and motivate us to live life to full potential. This year's Let Us Run oratorical contest featured our very best. They showed up and showed out, and they delivered. Support our oratorical program and our students.
Como en shock y no entendía qué estaba pasando y le empecé a decir, hermano, mira, tengo el brazo abierto, ya, deténganse.
No matter which side one supports in the political and increasingly violent crisis in Venezuela, the U.S. must never support regime change by military coup. We must continue to advocate and support a nonviolent negotiated resolution to the crisis in Venezuela.
A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene and make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela.
Recognizing the push for excellence.
When it was announced that Kellen McGowan, with his
4.57
GPA, earned the top spot.
I was surprised. Some of my friends weren't, but I was super shocked.
It's a first for the 119-year-old school.
You know, people have these like misguided notions as to like what it means to be African American. And I don't know. I just believe that by seeing like an African American who's done well at an institution like this, that they can see that there is more to us than what they think.
They are back. The students, parents, and chaperones convened this week to discuss with Push Excel's National Executive Director, Reverend Dr. Jeanette C. Wilson, and staff, this year's priceless and memorable tour. They completed a survey and committed their efforts, talents, and expertise to expand and promote the life-changing tour experience. They joined the movement and joined Rainbow Push. Stay tuned.
Excuse for these young boys to say that they were unaware of the history behind blackface. We want justice!
She's down for the cause. We applaud the courageous stance of one of our Push Excel HBCU Tour students, Homewood Flossmoor student Anaya Askew, for taking the lead on a recent walkout after videos appeared showing white students in blackface.
To me, it's just disgusting to see that that's people who I associate with, I sit with in class and laugh with and, you know, have spent time with, that they would do something like that.
And this is why voting matters. Not so good news. Voter suppression on the rise. Just recently, Florida gutted the historic ballot initiative that would have restored voting rights to ex-offenders.
It's really cash register justice. You got to pay in order to vote, and that shouldn't be the case.
Tennessee curtailed registration drives.
There's no need for legislation to hold people accountable.
Texas criminalized voting. Arizona restricted polling places. Yet, the good news, voting does matter. Colorado becomes the 15th state to adopt automatic voter registration.
If you notice, in the last election, no incumbent in the United States House of Representatives in the state of Ohio lost.
A panel of 3 federal judges struck down Ohio's congressional map, ruling the districts were so severely drawn to benefit Republicans that they violated the U.S. Constitution. Unbelievable. Countless American families are saddled with student lunch debt. Student lunch debt? Where's the food justice? But one mother is doing something about it. Everyone is haunted by the Facebook Live footage of Philando Castile, the cafeteria worker who was shot and killed by a police officer in 2016. But his mother, Mrs. Castile, gave $8,000 to Robbinsdale Cooper High School in New Hope, Minnesota to pay off the student lunch debt for 334 seniors preparing to graduate.
And as long as we can help, we will.
We applaud Mrs. Castile for turning her pain into power. Nearly a decade after a BART police officer shot and killed 22-year-old Oscar Grant at the Fruitvale Station in Oakland on New Year's Day, unsealed files noted that the officer punched Oscar Grant and lied about the facts in the 2009 killing.
It makes me frustrated because if you look at that, the officer already had 7, complaints against him that year, and nothing was done. And it just goes back to the frustration level of there is no accountability for police officers.
Fighting for you is what we do. He's a long-distance runner. After holding a meeting with Dr. R.E. Midget, Sr. and pastors in New Bern, North Carolina, and stressing the importance of voting, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. attended the PepsiCo annual shareholders meeting and then trekked to the Verizon shareholders meeting in Orlando, Florida. Equity, parity, inclusion. Please read, share widely, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.'s Chicago Sun-Times column, GOP, not Russia, is a greater threat to free elections.
Join the movement. Join Rainbow Push.
Everybody put your hands together. And we do hope that you will be tuning into Keep Hope Alive Radio, Reverend Jackson's nationally syndicated radio show tomorrow morning. We are going to be talking about the great issues of the day, as we always do. But tomorrow we're talking about the Rainbow Push Millennial Voter Registration Drive. Haven't you noticed many people are trying to reach back to voters they've lost instead of reaching forward to voters that they could gain? Well, we're looking for the millennials, and we want everybody here to be involved in the Rainbow Push Millennial Voter Project. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. But I had to bring Terry Freeman right back real quick, because I saw you just a few months ago, didn't I, in Memphis?
You did, because the museum gives something called the Freedom Award to icons of the movement, and Reverend Jackson was honored with a Freedom Award in October of 2018. Thank you.
And thank you for that, along with, I think it was Vice President Joe Biden and someone else, but it was great. No, absolutely. But we're bringing the head of our Push for Excellence. Push for Excellence. You see her around here. She works, I think, 7 days a week. Maybe it's 8. She's head of the Push for Excellence program here at Rainbow Push. The Reverend Attorney Dr. Jeanette Wilson, everybody.
Thanks, Santita Jackson, for volunteering every week that she's in town to at least bring us some expert advice and to moderate this program. This is a major international broadcast, and we have so much to tell you. First of all of the educators that are watching and listening and waiting, if they're in your churches, they're in your sororities, they're in your fraternities, we want every educator to meet us May 17th. Reverend Jackson has said we must have an education summit. When you look at the crisis in public education, K to 12, it is almost, Santita, reminiscent of the time that Brown versus the Board of Education was decided in 1954. And we have a young lady who is going to keynote that summit, Nicole Hannah-Jones. She's an award-winning journalist who has been tracing and tracking the impact of Brown versus the Board of Education. We're looking at the resegregation, the segregation of resources and not just people. We know that at one time, African Americans could not attend certain schools. We didn't have the ability to go to the school closest to where we lived. And now when we look back, almost 65 years later, we see that there's this segregation of resources. Some schools have computers, some schools don't. Some schools have gym and art and math, and other schools do not. We see the inequities in the system. Some teachers are paid one amount of money, others are not. Meet us on May 17th. We're going to be at Roosevelt University. We're convening K-12 educators. We're convening those of you who work in community colleges. We're convening the education family. Parents, you want to attend this conference so you will know what your children should be learning, what courses and classes should be offered at this moment. Teachers and educators, you will get professional development credit for attending. We need you to meet us at Roosevelt May 17th, so you need to register online, pushexcel.org, rainbowpush.org. You can register on Eventbrite today or call us 773-256-2775. Well, June the 28th through July 2nd, we're convening the family at our annual Rainbow Push CEF Push Excel Convention. June the 28th, we're going to be at a labor hall, the Chicago Teachers Union. We're going to focus on education that day. We're going to look at the Crisis in Education Part 2 from the summit May 17th. And then we're going to look at the crisis in labor. Teachers are not getting the same pay for teaching that other people graduate with a degree from college get. Yet teachers produce presidential candidates, many of whom will be attending our convention. Beto O'Rourke wants to come to our convention. Joe Biden wants to attend our convention. Elizabeth Warren wants to attend our convention. Well, I don't want them coming and you're not here. Say amen, somebody. I need you to register with me. I know that Anna's going to help me I have to have 250 people just that I know. I need you to register. All you judges, register a child if you can't come. I need all of my friends and all of those who have benefited in any way from Rainbow Push. If you've been served, if you've gotten a job because of Push, if you've gotten promoted because of Push, if you've had us fight for your family, fight for your friends, fight for your block, if you got your house and you got a mortgage because of Push, if you had Jonathan meet with the workers for you, if you are a CTA worker, if you are a CTA train driver, if you are an educator, and we made sure that Reverend Jackson made sure that you were able to be equal to other teachers, you had to be grandfathered in. If you have been in the construction program, if we've helped you in any way, we fought for your child, we have helped deal with some of the crisis in the suburbs and in the city, all over the country, you should be pressing your way. June the 28th is education and labor. Oh, well, I don't want to stop there. Saturday morning, we're convening. The census is a big deal. We're trying to make sure the resources to count those of us who are hard to count, the unemployed, those of us who are immigrants in this country, refugees. We want to count you so that we can get resources to where you live and where you're staying. So if you're homeless, we want to make sure you count it. Well, we're going to have a census breakfast, and then Santita's bringing her show, her program, back to the convention again. So you've listened on the radio. It's time for y'all to come to Chicago. She's tired of talking to you on the radio and live on Facebook, live in this place. So we're going to be at Apostolic Faith Church. We're taking the convention to the community. We don't want to spend all of our money in the hotels. We're going to spend our money where our people are. Thank you, Bishop Horace Smith. We want every church. You need to send some delegates to the convention. We have at least 1,000 churches that are working with us. We need you to send 10 delegates. And so those of you who can't come, come. We have one young man who's already saying, I'm going to support students. We want every student to come. It's $35 for a student, $35 for a senior who's 65. It's $50 for the rest of you out there. So that's a Saturday. We're going to be at Bishop Horace Smith. It's a lot of people that can fit in that place. I need everybody you know, all of your family, your grandchildren, everybody on your block. I'm going on. I'm sorry, Reverend. Sunday, we're going to have a gospel concert. You know Santita can sing. You know DeAndre Patterson can sing. You know Reverend Jenkins and awesome. And you know Darius Brooks can sing. But we got some gospel artists. It's going to be something. Don Jackson from Stella is coordinating. I'm not going to tell you anything else. Then on Monday, we have all of our international guests are flying in from South Africa, from all parts of Africa, 52 nations. We're going to have 100 delegates from Africa. I don't want more Africans coming from Africa than we come from America. You want to meet them. They're having an international women's session talking about women's issues globally, not just locally. Well, you know Mrs. Jackson is hosting the International Women's Luncheon, but she has two powerful co-chairs, Dorothy Brown, Honorable Dorothy Brown, and Dr. Donna Leak. They're trying to get 1,500 women to have a table and to be delegates. Then we're going to have that night the sports banquet. You don't want to miss the life beyond the playing field. Santita standing up. I got to go. So Tuesday is, I forgot the health breakfast. We want every doctor, every technician, every nurse, every LPN, every nurse assistant. Those of you working in nursing homes, you need to be with us at the health breakfast. I'm just trying to get you what you're doing. Then Tuesday morning, you don't want to miss Tuesday because that's business day. All of you who we have helped get a job from breadbasket to now, every one of you have gotten your product on the shelf, your pizza in the airplane. I gotta go, okay? I'm gone. It's time for, you just need to go online and register. Don't wait for me to tell you anything. You know, Push Yourself has so many talented young people, and this young lady is phenomenal. Christina Haley Gray, a third grader from Valley Kingdom Ministries, and I know her church is gonna be at the convention. Listen to her as she indicates what our oratorical program can do for you and your students.
Good morning, Operation Push. Today I will be reciting for you Who Do We Call, written by Christiana Haley Gray, and I Am Somebody by Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Who do we call when there is turmoil in the land? You call Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Who do you call when there is injustice in the schools? You call Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Who do we call when white supremacists bomb black churches? You call Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Who do you call when white privileged students paint their faces black to make fun of black culture and don't get suspended? You call Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Who do you call when white supremacists don't do things right, but they hurt other people? You call Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, and he will teach the children. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody. I am somebody. I am black, brown, or white, but I must be respected, protected, never rejected, for I am somebody. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. I am a child of God, for I am somebody. No one shall hurt me, for I am somebody. Keep hope alive. I am somebody. Now, the next speaking voice you will hear is the voice of a civil rights leader, teacher of the people, cultural custodian, and just to be in his presence will make you better. I'm feeling better already. Thank you, Operation Push and Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, for this opportunity.
Know red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Oh, I am somebody, hey, at the end of this day, trying to walk away, but I am somebody.
We want to express our thanks for your presence here today. We're in the community hall today because our building, we've been in this spot 47 years. And because of tremendous rain last week and a tough winter, our building roof is not capable of being called secure. So we're going to fix up our building, make it first class. We're going to raise $1 million. We're going to, for roof and other details, our convention must be first. At this place, President Barack Obama stood when he was a senator. Nelson Mandela stood. Harold Washington stood. Gus Savage, Charlie Hayes. We've been a source of refuge for our people. We need your support to make it happen. If you're listening today, some of you may want to give $1,000, or $500, or $100. You may want to help in some way to the Rainbow Push, to the Push Restoration Restoration Fund. Push Restoration Fund. I've asked Brother Gil more, won't you stand? I've asked him, would he help chair this drive? Give him a big hand, Brother Gilmore. Many of you were watching the broadcast today in your homes from your various churches and labor unions. You know, as the little sister, daughter said today, when you're in trouble, you tend to call us. Say, help Push. Before you need help from Push. Now Push needs you to keep our building strong and secure our platform. So we need you who are listening. You may call 773-256-2775. Make a contribution or pledge to our restoration fund. Secondly, as we move toward May and June, this year 4 million high school seniors are graduating. 4 million. Well, 4 years, that's 16 million. What does that mean, young America? Why should I register at age 18? I register so I can fight for more scholarships. I register so I can have the right to be a juror. I can elect judges. I can fight for better teacher pay. When I'm 18, I have the power to make decisions about my nation and about our world. If you're in college doing this, you should vote where you attend residency. You have the right to vote where you attend school. So you don't have to come all the way home just to vote. Your voting in those small towns will help further socialize and civilize our country. Good news is we went to Reverend Meeks led the drive to Decatur a few years ago when 4 young men were being kicked out of school. Reverend Meeks had contacts in Decatur. We met and left church early and went to Decatur, Illinois, and one of the young men, we fought for a court in the cause, and he is now graduated from seminary. He is now on the school board in Decatur. Give him a hand. Reverend Meeks, we also went to Jenna 6. Reverend Sharpton helped to lead the drive in Jenna 6. A young man who we helped to salvage, and Ted Shaw is now a new lawyer. One of Jenna 6 is now a lawyer in District of Columbia. In Decatur, a young man ran for sheriff. He was part of our movement. He lost by 99 votes. They didn't count the absentee votes. He won by 1 vote. A sheriff in Decatur. Give him up. So I want to thank you for building. I want our friends to come now from Flossmoor, superintendent and students and principals. Come up here for a minute. I want Jonathan to stand with them because we're going to go out to Flossmoor at the appropriate time. We're going to meet with the ministers. It's not just about reacting to racism, it's having the power. So we have the power to determine how we react. No act of humiliation will take us off course. I tell my children all the time, if there's you're an eagle, you can fly high, you have a good education. If you're ever in a snake fight with a snake, say if the eagle has ever in a fight with a snake, it's always the eagle's fault. Eagle should not be down there in the first place. Snake can't run, snake can't jump, snake can't fly. So if you have the most, if you could say, if I can fly high above snakes, don't go down there. Put your hand together. The principal of Flossmoor High, come here.
From Homewood Flossmoor, we are welcoming the principal of this school, Dr. Jerry Anderson. Put your hands together, everybody.
I see you looking at me and you know that I'm an African-American female. No matter where I go and no matter what I do and no matter what capacity you find me, that is who I am. So you have to know that the events of this last week was very tragic to me and I felt it personally. And I don't have to tell you that I've had experiences in my own life that would trigger me in having a response to this. But what I know is that we cannot stay in the place that we have landed. That we must be able to not let what's happening on the national scene impact and destroy the experiences that our students should be having in schools and in our communities. We have to be the ones that take charge. We have to be the ones that dictate what our present environment is going to be. We might not be able to change what happened, but we can change how we respond to it. And as a leader, my responsibility is education. That's my responsibility. That's what I went to school for. That's what I've dedicated my life to. And if there's anything that this event is, it is something that we need to learn from and grow from and heal as a community. It's very important that we learn our history so as not to repeat our history. Doesn't matter if it's on purpose, accidental, none of that matters. We need to learn our history so that we can allow our students not to repeat and not to have the experiences that we had or that our ancestors had. We need to find a way to heal and to move forward as a community because we cannot stay where we are. It's not about hate. We have to come together as a people and be able to do what we need to do to make a difference.
Come on, everybody, put your hands together for Anaya Askew, a student at Homewood Flossmoor. Come on, Anaya.
Good morning. My name is Anaya Askew, and I am a sophomore at Homewood Flossmoor High School. I first off want to say thank you to Reverend Jackson, Reverend Wilson, and all of Rainbow Push Coalition's staff. 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending the HBCU College Tour of 2019. I was able to see many colleges, but I also was able to visit cultural sites like the Lynching Museum. I was overwhelmed with feelings of sadness and defeat because of all the things that I saw at that Lynching Museum about how everything that our ancestors have been through. But then I started to feel hopeful and confident because of how much that we have overcome as a people. But then last week, this past Saturday, I was made aware of 4 of my white classmates driving around my neighborhood in blackface. I was disgusted and I was upset that my classmates had the audacity to do that, and not only that, but claim ignorance to how culturally offensive it was. I had a hard time going to sleep that night because my mind began to wonder and think about everything that we've been through and how we have a movement that was made, Black Lives Matter, 6 years ago in 2013. And I began to think, why? Why do we need a movement saying that our lives matter? And I just couldn't understand that. After 51 years after Martin Luther King Jr. passed away, we still need to be reminded of how important our lives are. This is about, sorry. Black Lives Matter is a movement that campaigns against racism and violence against black people. Why is there a need for this type of organization? This is a life that my mother does not know. This is a life that my grandparents could not fully experience. So why am I, a 15-year-old girl in the Cook County of Illinois, dealing with these type of problems? I just can't understand that. So my classmates and I made a choice to walk out of our classes, and we did that. On April 30th, we decided to walk out of our classes because, number one, we didn't feel respected, we didn't feel valued, and we didn't feel safe in our own learning environment. There is more to be done in my South suburban community, and not only there, but in our nation as a whole. And I'm committed to doing whatever I can to help that cause with your help. Thank you so much.
Amen. Anaya Askew, Homewood Flossmoor High School. And keep those hands together for Dr. Vaughn Mansfield, their superintendent. Come on, Dr. Mansfield.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you for giving us an opportunity to be here. And the young lady who so eloquently spoke on behalf of Operation Push and said, you call Jesse L. Jackson when you need something. I did that. The good news is I've worked with Dr. Reverend Jeanette Wilson in Operation Push for some time in terms of making sure I had a strong knowledge base in what to do. I was a product of the 60s. I saw Reverend Jackson march with Dr. King. I had a deep understanding of what I needed to do, and as our student just said, 50 plus years later, we're still trying to do it. So I think in terms of what happened at Flossmoor, even though this situation didn't happen in the school, it has dramatically impacted the school. So as far as trying to give out appropriate information in this age of misinformation, that's what we've been trying to do. The school absolutely supports our students. They did a phenomenal job walking out. Anytime and in a situation like this, you have the police officers who were dispatched, the state troopers who were dispatched, the additional surrounding community police officials who were dispatched, come up to you afterwards and say, you know what, we didn't have anything to do. Thank you so very much. Your students expressed their very fundamental constitutional right to express themselves, and that's what they did. So I will tell you in terms of what we need to do moving forward, and I spoke with Dr. Anderson and we've spoken to our students, and we're at a point where we also need to speak with our parents and ultimately hope Operation Push can help speak to our community, because it's going to take all of us to move from this point forward. And Dr. Anderson is a history teacher, and she told me, you know, it's so interesting. History has a tendency to repeat itself, and what have we learned from it? So I think for our students, this is the perfect life lesson. As you continue to move forward, it's really not about the situation as much as it is about what you've learned, because you're going to have to apply it to a future situation. So again, I thank you so very much for giving us an opportunity to share and to be a part of what should be a perfectly wonderful opportunity for us to move forward, so that in the future we can continue to do the great things that we're supposed to do the right way. Thank you.
Let me say to these students today that Jonathan, we're going out to Flossmoor tomorrow and perhaps Tuesday to the school, but we cannot let these incidents break our spirit. Since Dr. King was killed, we have 55 African Americans in the Congress now, 38 Latinos and 20 Asians. We had an African American president say, nobody can break our spirit. No snake can make the eagle stop flying. Our national spokesman, Brother Jonathan Jackson.
I'm honored to be here in my father's rightful place, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I, like many of you, was astounded and shocked to see the blackface that were sent across this nation, what the young people had experienced. But let me tell you, I found hope in that moment. And it was manifested even as late as today. Did you see the young lady Askew from Homewood Flossmoor, who went on the historically black college tour with our young scholars? I want to thank you for having been active, for having participated, and for having found your way back here. And it is great to know people before you have a problem. I have not personally have had the privilege and the pleasure to work with Dr. Mansfield, but sometimes you know people in a very short period of time better than you know them for a long period of time because their true grit was tested. What do I mean by that? He manned up. He came here with his student. He came here with his principal. He has supported the students and the community of Homewood Flossmoor. I couldn't ask anything more of that, and I thank you, Dr. Mansfield, for being a superintendent of integrity. To the principal, Dr. Jerry Anderson, and that's Jerry, J-E-R-R-Y, Anderson, for her coming out on this Saturday morning. I get so sick and tired of the principals and the teachers and the superintendents that act like school is not a 7-day-a-week job. These people have demonstrated. They are showing us the lesson that principals and superintendents ought to do. They are out here with their students today. When the incident broke, and it happened on a Saturday, Dr. Anderson was contacting the parents of the students on that Sunday, and they met. So let's take some of the inflation out of the situation so that cooler heads can prevail. I don't know these young people that did that at 15 or 16 years of age. I do believe in restorative justice. I would like to see the process go all the way out. I am glad our students have done a legal channel and were not disruptive and used their rights, you raised their voices, came out and demonstrated. Now we have to teach our children, number one, register to vote. A school is a political animal. Let me say that to you. What does that mean? That means the superintendent is hired by the school board. When the school board is predominantly Caucasian and the student body is predominantly African Americans, and the African Americans have not voted their proportional rights and have taken control of their own school system, what are we supposed to do? So when he mans up and goes before the school board, do the people, do the students, do the teachers, do the parents have his back? Well, then why don't you vote? So when you have a school board that is disproportionately expelling your black child and you still don't vote, it's an old conversation and it's worrisome and tiresome. But young people, when we talk about the expulsion and suspension rates, I want to ask you, do you really need to take marijuana to school? In my Uber ride over here today, and I did Uber pool, after one of the persons got dropped off at the McDonald's, another at the Museum of Science and Industry, the driver, who had a handicap license symbol, he almost had a contact high. He says, "Could you smell that marijuana?" Now that child's about to mess up a whole lot of hamburgers and egg McMuffins this morning. Our children are confused on whether or not they can smoke marijuana. States are passing it. It's legal in 30 states. They have it in recreational in Washington, D.C. But let me tell you, young people, it's illegal at the federal level. What does that mean? That means even if you smoke it, the employer has the right to drug test you and you will not get your job. Leave it alone. young people with these guns and all the glorifying of this violence. We've got to stop it. And I want us to go beyond just being critical of the black face on students. That is wrong, and we should stop it, and it has to be condemned. I am appreciative that the students have come forward, the four, and have made individual apologies. We need to figure out the hope in the moment. But I also want to go on and deal with blackface entertainment. I'm so sick of music, nigga this, nigga that. White folks fighting each other using the same words. My father did not hear what I said. Dad, what they're saying on Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, when they start getting into a drill beat and feeling real intoxicated with a certain melody, I can't say there's any harmony in it, to the rhythm, they say, nigga this, nigga that, got my Glock on this, shooting. I've been to too many state penitentiaries to see young people wake up. And I mean, these young men are buffed, shoulders, arms, handsome.
I express my thanks to you for your support across the years. We've been in this building for 47 years. Nelson Mandela spoke here, and Harold Washington spoke here, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., and Gus Savage, and Charlotte Hayes. So many people across the years. This has been a kind of refuge, a place from which we launch great ideas. Your movements for action for registration and jobs, and just another building is about to collapse under the heavy, heavy rain and winter this winter in Chicago. We need to raise $1 million for a restoration campaign. Churches, please take up a donation for us, individuals. Church made to push People United to Serve Humanity. People United to Serve Humanity is a tax-exempt organization. This is a Rainbow Push, is a push in effect as a church. We need your support today.
Thank you for tuning in to our International Saturday morning broadcast. We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to pound 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select Push for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com. Education in America. We must address the crisis.
We're looking at Brown versus the Board of Education, May 17th in Chicago, major summit on equity in public education.
May 17th, 2019, Push Excel is holding an education summit at Roosevelt University in Chicago, Illinois. We are inviting educators, parents, and education policymakers and foundations leaders to join Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. in a State of Education Summit in Chicago. Join us for the Rainbow Push Coalition Citizenship Education Fund Annual Convention, June 28th through July 2nd. This year's theme, 400 years later, repairing the damage done. Register today. Go to www.rainbowpush.org.
Hey, it's Teddy Gilmore with Drink House. Want to invite everyone out next Friday from 11 to 3, and that's going to be at Drink House, 820 West Jackson. We're inviting everyone to help plan this convention that we have coming. I want you to invite a friend out as we put together Operations Push yearly convention. It's going to be an amazing time. Make sure you bring a friend.
Get involved with the movement.
Somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Join the movement.
If you're not a member, become a member.
I am somebody. Fighting the most important battles for freedom and justice for all.
You made us change. Oh, trying to bring me closer.
Join Rainbow Push.
But you're not pushing me away.
Join the movement. Join Rainbow Push.
When it was time for him to reach some sort of in order to get out of jail, there he stood with his mother dying, that he could finally see her without cuffs on his hands, without a shotgun in his back. They said, if you agree not to press charges and sue us, we will let you see your mother before she dies. And he signed the papers, left without a dime, wanted to touch his mother without handcuffs on. We still have people that are in jail in Cook County that have been tortured by John Burge. All of them should have been given their appeal and their bond to get out. We're not going to stop there. We've got someone in the highest office of the land who says you can degrade women by grabbing them anywhere you want. My father talked about acid rain. This man's words are like acid rain. Not purple rain, some yellow rain and acid rain. His words are putrid. His words hurt. And we're seeing them manifest in these children. They don't even know where this vibe, where this connectivity is coming from. When he says that the people with tiki staffs that are lit, what's that, Kiki? What's the thing called? The tiki torches. Tiki torches. Who's ever seen 1,000 people out in a beautiful Charlottesville town going around a statue talking about Jews and blacks with tiki torches? And he says they're fine people. After the young child who showed up at the right place at the right time, young Heather Heyer, she's a martyr. And then the president says there were fine people on both sides, the person that ran her over and the person that stood up. No, young people, there weren't fine people on both sides. One people were doing right, somebody else was doing wrong. Heather Heyer is a woman of honor. When this president says those African countries are shitholes, and now we see what's going on in Facebook and censorship. Why don't you censor the president for the comments he's made? That's as vile and putrid and racist as you can get. When you say one ethnic group has rapists that come to the country, have you ever heard of Ted Bundy? Our children have a right to be afraid and concerned. I know we talk about what's happening in the hood and drive-bys and shootings and other things. We have to be concerned about that. And in Chicago, where 85% of the murders are unsolved, 60% of the murders in New York are solved, 70% of the murders in Los Angeles are solved, 85% of the murders in Chicago are unsolved. Only 15% of the murders are solved. But why should our children be concerned about blackface in Homewood? When you see the young children out in Colorado that go into the movie theater with shotguns, when you see the young people that go into the University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, with a shotgun, when you see Mother Emanuel down in Charleston, South Carolina, we've got to help young white children overcome their racism and their racial superiority. These are the same children that grew up in suburbia, nice houses, with unlimited amount of access to guns. These were planned attacks in Sandy Hook. But I want to get to the lesson that we can learn in Homewood Flossmoor. We can vote so that our school board represents our student body. We can believe in restorative justice. I saw this school district do something big. There were young men, African Americans out in Homewood that were flashing gang signs. And you've been to Homewood and you've been to Country Club Hills. There's no GD, Disciple, Vice Lord, gang, Crip, Blood, my God. All those children that were involved in that ought to get some lawnmowers and some sickles and cut grass all summer long. But the principal, Dr. Jerry Lee Anderson, didn't see a reason to expel the boys for pictures. She saw an opportunity to teach them and to reform those young people. She saw the same level of discipline to involve the parents with the children that were in blackface. For that, Dr. Anderson, I appreciate and I respect. Her first instinct, Dr. Mansfield's first instinct, was to call the parents of the children before you call the police on the children. Now, when I was in school, I would have preferred that you call the police and not my parents. It would have been safer. But things have changed. Lock me up. Assault. Did anybody see that? I'm having a conniption. Something's going wrong. I'm feeling faint. I don't feel like myself. Abuse? I don't have a witness in here. This is a shame. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to have compassion in restoring these children. We're going to go out to Homewood and we're going to ask the parents. The church has stepped up. The principals have stepped up. The students have stepped out, and now we're going to ask them to step up. We're going to have a voter registration drive, and we're going to come together as a community. It's the school districts is 70% African American, it's 30% Caucasians and others. It's taken this sort of shift that many of these suburbans have. This school district can stay intact. I want restorative justice. I want these children not to spend the next 5 or 6 weeks before the end of the semester fighting and trying to challenge the administration. The administration is doing its job. We're going to register the students to vote. They have a right to be on their school board. Unlike Chicago, I can't be on the school board, Teddy, if I wanted to because the mayor appoints the school board members. They've got rights in Homewood we don't have right here in Chicago. We're going to make sure that those students get back to class with an atmosphere that they feel safe in. Ask you have the right to feel safe in your school, and we're going to guarantee that. And I want to use this as another teaching example on what a good administration can do. Dr. Mansfield didn't have to come to Rainbow Push today. He didn't have to be involved with Rainbow Push and Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Anderson did not have to come, but you know what? They're not afraid. They're not afraid of their students. They're not afraid of their community. They're not afraid of the challenges that lie before them. I'm going to stand with them in whatever capacity that they want. We're going out to the church tomorrow in Homewood, and I want to thank God for this young lady, Sister Askew. Wasn't she brilliant and smart and talented? I want to thank God for my friend Teddy Gilmore and Felicia. Stand up, Teddy and Felicia. Teddy and Felicia were $6,000 donors contributing to students to get on those buses to go to those college tours. And in closing, we can make it. We've got 3 recognizable African-American women that are the standards of beauty across the country, across the nation, across the world. Did you see African-American women won Miss Teen, Miss America, and Miss Universe? Oh, there is some good news in the land. Aren't you proud when you see Stacey Abrams step out? Aren't you proud to see an African-American woman is now running for president of the United States of America? Aren't you happy when you see Gayle King on CBS and now CBS says, we don't know if we have enough money to pay Gayle King. Find the money and pay her like you did Katie Couric and everybody else. I am so proud to see us coming of age, and God bless you.
Mother.
Put your hands together on your feet.
Brothers, it's far too many of us dying.
Put your hands together, put your hands together.
You know we've got to find a way. Come on.
Come on, Mr. Mahon.
to bring some love in here today. Oh, fathers, we don't need to escalate. Yeah, war is not the answer, 'cause only love can conquer hate. You know we got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Picket line, picket signs, punish me with brutality. Talk to me, you can see what's going on. Oh, what's going on? I gotta know what's going on. What's going on? What's going on?
Big hand for Brother Mayhan. Where's Bobby and Kristen from Atlanta? Where's Bobby and Kristen? Bobby and Kristen, give them in from Atlanta. Give them a hand. Love you, man. Kristen. Be seated for a moment. I need your attention. I want you really to hear me now. And I need you to be seated for a second. Number one, how many high school seniors are there in Flossmoor? Approximately. If 750 high school seniors vote and their parents vote, the school board will look like the student body. See, in Flossmoor, if 750 students vote this May and June, and their parents vote, that's enough votes to change the school board. Am I right about that? Okay. So we want to go out there and get every high school senior to register and vote. That's the first thing. Secondly, because we're here today, we'll be here maybe for quite a while. We say this building is our building. We've had weddings and funerals, and we welcome people home who've been falsely arrested. We've been fighting. I want you who are listening today, we're going to send our building restoration program. We're trying to raise $1 million. Some people listening today or watching online, you have $1,000 or more, or $500 or more. What we're doing makes sense to you. If we were not here today, where would this family go to? If we were not here today, who could hear this child? They saw you in South Africa today, baby. They saw you in Nigeria. They saw you in London. They saw around the whole. Give her a big hand. Bless your heart. So if you will, I want Brother Gilmore, come up here, please. Florida A&M man. And go to A&T and get a wife, I understand that. If you will sacrifice, if you're listening online, telephone number is 773-256-2775. You'll give $1,000 for our building restoration plan. Checks made to Push, which is tax exempt. We're technically a religious organization. If you would give a raise $1,000, I want you to stand right now. You give a raise for building restoration. You give a raise $1,000 wherever you are. Brother Pastor Nick, you give a raise $1,000. What we're doing is worth that to you. You give a raise $1,000. Stand. Give Brother Pastor a big hand. You give more as our chairman. You give a raise $500 for building restoration. For building restoration. Stand wherever you are today. You give $250. This is for building restoration. $100 for building restoration. Thank you very much, Bobby and Kristen, Atlanta, Georgia. Now, let me make this appeal now, lastly. We need volunteers for the convention. We got a call yesterday from Mr. Pete, Mayor Pete. He's coming to speak at the business breakfast. Talk with Elder Warren this week. She's coming. Talk with Kamala Harris. She's coming. Talk with Booker. He's coming. We're going to have a great convention. Joe Biden is coming. We're going to have they have to say my interest is not just in changing presidents. I want to change my condition. Yeah, wait. Stop everything for a minute. See, it's not enough to change presidents. We must change our condition. The new president is riding a donkey or elephant. We want to get paid for our work. We want health care for the people. We want education for the children. We want capital for businesses. So it's not enough to change presidents. We must also change our condition. Anybody else who want to make a contribution to the Building Restoration Fund? We're going over to Brother Gilmore's. They got some good catfish. What y'all call that place? Sipping something? Drink and sip? Drink house. It ain't what y'all think. It's really a lot of catfish and stuff over there. I'm going back again today. If you've not yet contributed today, we need your support. And if you have need to write a check, and here's the man down front with this, with the Skype machine. Skype. If you give a contribution today, you give $100. Please stand. And come back next week and bring your friend. You give $100 today. Please stand wherever you are. If you're not a member, push join today. Join today. If you're not a member, join today. We need your help as we affect the nation. We're going to Mississippi fairly soon because a young woman's child got killed in Mississippi, and there appears no justice. We intend to take light in dark places. We intend to take light in dark places. We will not bow, will not surrender. We will fight back. We must pay our way. We cannot ride to freedom on Pharaoh's chariot. If you would give at least $100, please stand. Whoever you are, please stand. Shh. At least $50, please stand. Thank you so much. My brother Bob in the airport in the line, he said, we coming to Chicago. Give them a hand. You give at least $100, please stand, whoever you are. $50, please stand.
Those of you who want to make a pledge to the building fund, we're passing around a clipboard. Sign your name and the amount of your pledge and your phone number. I know you may not be prepared today. Sign the form so we can contact you.
If you're not yet given yet, please stand. Give as you're blessed to give. Give as you, Brother Mayhan, can you play that song for me, that one I like so much? The one that done it does. No. If he didn't know it, let him do higher ground then. If you've not yet given, please stand. Come forward, come forward.
So just keep on moving.
Pearl Nelson, $100.
Thank you, Pearl. Out in the hall, there's some T-shirts you can buy today. T-shirts and paraphernalia.
Don't stop down here. Whoa, keep on turning. It won't be too long. Oh, so glad that you let me try it again. Last time on earth I lived the whole world of sin. So glad that I know more than I knew then. Keep on trying.